I don't know when I started becoming so heavily aware that taxes were a part of my yearly dilemma. It was 2022. I know exactly when it was.
Wait, it's not that deep.
Hey, you guys. Welcome back to Not That Deep. I'm so freaking excited to be here. You might notice that my hair has grown out a little bit, or maybe not. Maybe you're thinking, no, Dana, it looks the exact same from when you got a botched ass haircut. I saw my dermatologist a couple weeks ago, and when he's asking me how like my skin is and everything, I was like, oh, I like things are good. And like, it's kind of like when you're at the dentist. You know, when you're at the dentist and those jaws of life are in your mouth and you're trying to talk, yet they're like asking you how school is and how things are going with your family, and you can't talk at all. I think we need to talk more about how like uncomfortable dentists and doctors must feel of like making conversation. Because me as the patient, I have no interest in catching up when you're like searching my mouth for cavities. Like I am locked in on the fact that this could be a groundbreaking session for me, and this is just another patient to you, right? It's kind of like at any doctor's office. Or I actually bit my dentist growing up, which is something that I'm not proud of, but I do have pride surrounding it. I think it wasn't so much I didn't like him in my mouth. I wanted to feel what it would taste like. And that's something that I'll probably just bring up in therapy, but I do think it's something that I wanted to call out. I'm at the dermatologist. Dermatologists are funny because the one that I see, I mean, I wish he would sponsor my podcast because I could promote him for 11 hours if I needed to. I have a ton of beauty marks, birthmarks, moles, etc. HIPAA, I'm breaking HIPAA constantly. I have a ton of that, and he looks at every single one and makes sure that it looks okay under the microscope, and he never misses. Every time I leave the dermatologist, I have 3 biopsied beauty marks. And I like that because that means he's being diligent and delicate. And that's what I need. I'll never forget, I went to a dermatologist in the city that a friend recommended. And if she's listening to this, sorry, I never told you how disappointed I was, because there's nothing quite like recommending a doctor, a restaurant, an area to explore in a new city to somebody and they hate it. It is not fun. There's something really vulnerable about telling somebody, hey, like you should try this cafe, or you should try this book, or you should try this new doctor that I found. And then they go and they just don't feel it. Am I the problem? It makes you wonder big time. I go to this dermatologist that my friend recommended. She just kind of looked me up and down and was like, you're good. And I'm used to like the creme de la creme of a dermatologist back in Jersey. And I said, this isn't going to work for me. So I'm back. I go back to New Jersey, Summit, New Jersey, for my dermatologist, and I make a whole day out of it. I took off from work. I love the dermo. And I go in and he's doing his whole like exam on me, and he's looking at my hair and he goes, oh, your hair's thinning, Dana. Why would you say that? Because I have enough insecurity of my botched ass haircut and now I'm losing hair. This is bad. This is bad for the game. So I wasn't happy about that, but I also appreciated it. My point being, he thinks my hair is losing. I think my hair is growing. We have to meet in the middle, and maybe it's just stayed the exact frickin' same. There is something so vulnerable about, like, my friend just asked me, no one has a PCP these days. Nobody has a primary care physician these days. There is a gap between, I'll say, 23 and 29, where everyone is just kind of running around going to urgent care. We have insurance via our jobs, and that is something that I'm so grateful for. But I'm talking about like me and like people that I talk to about not having a PCP syndrome. I had the PCP that I had growing up, and then I went to college, you don't have a PCP at college, or you just go back to your childhood one during holiday breaks and stuff. But like, what about after college? Then you live in a new city. I'm close enough to New Jersey to just go back to my PCP at home. Okay, but then what happens when they ... retire? Oh, I'm fooked. I'm absolutely fooked. So much of my journey of why I was put on this earth was to find a PCP. And guess what? I've been trying for maybe 3 years. It hasn't worked. I just saw one a couple weeks ago. I was like, thank God I'm going to get my physical in, get all my stuff up to date. She said, I do need to tell you, this is my last week here. What? She's a young thing. I said, are you retiring? She said, no. And I said, that's when I realized not everybody wants to give me their business at once. Sometimes I forget that not everybody wants to tell me everything that's on their mind ever. I said, okay, respect. Waste of a copay. I would have gone to someone else who was just getting started. I have rave reviews about my gyno. And I mean, I can't even focus on a PCP right now. I have an appointment for June, and I'm very excited for that. I think she's the one. They should make a dating show for people in their 20s looking for a primary care physician, because the amount of times it doesn't work out is just astonishing. I went to one and she asked me if I exercised. I said yes. And she said, are you sure? Yeah, I'm sure. And you're never going to see me again. She had rights. I was going through some mental health stuff. She had her rights, but I didn't appreciate it. But I go to a new gyno. Part of the gynecological exam is getting like a kaleidoscope stuck up your vag. So she goes up my vag and she goes, you're just going to feel a slight pinch, mama. Mama? That's a Gen Z gyno right there. And I am so here for it. Let me tell you, no one made me feel safer than that woman, because that bedside manner, she treated me exactly how she would want to be treated, which is well. Bedside manner is so important. I think you could be the smartest person in the entire world, and if your bedside manner is poor, I'm going to be really turned off. I mean, there's also bedside manner in real life. Like, bedside manner equals social skills. Like, you could be super hot but have zero social skills. Therefore, I don't want to do this. But like, you could also have really good bedside manner, social skills. Actually, let's change bedside manner to banter. I think that's more equaled. You could have really good bedside manner and like really good banter, but if you're really bad at your job and you're really ugly, it actually could make up for it. Like, at some point you are qualified, just you're not the full package, but you acknowledge that you're the full package. And that's where I think the average sixes really come in clutch. I think that I'm onto something. Bedside manner, banter. Like, how are we kind of keeking at the bedside table? How are we kind of getting along when we're not talking about the matters at hand? And that's so important. Bedside manner is fundamental to society, and that just, it is what it is, and it was what it was. My friend asked me the other day, she said, Dana, do you have a gyno? You know what? I jumped up and down. I was so excited to give her this gyno because finally I had somebody that I believed in. And I know that when my friend finally gets an appointment with this gyno, she is going to understand me, or she is going to question my entire existence. It could honestly go either way, but I think when you look at me, you would say, I think she sees a Gen Z gyno, and I'm proud of that. I'm nervous about this next month because it's tax season. And I've never related to rich people more when it's like, I don't want to do them. I don't want to do my taxes. And I think it's frustrating that like I make a sliver of what they make and they don't even do their taxes. Like, why am I out here doing my taxes? It feels like a waste. It feels like the homework assignment that's never going to get graded. But then all of a sudden the teacher's like, surprise, I'm grading your test. And then you get fucked because you cheated. Let's not do that. I'm fully reading a book on like fraud schemes and Ponzi schemes, which is so out of character for me. I have no business going to the library and picking up a book about fraud. Like, I think they were like, sorry, did you mean to pick up the book about like frogs? No, I meant fraud. It's really interesting though, because people get away with some wacky shit. There's something called like intentional perps. And those are people that like mean to deceive. And then there's accidental perps, which I'm about to dig into that chapter. I haven't actually started it yet, but I'm sure that people just kind of get caught up in the wildfire and they have a trusted confidant and they're like, let's deceive people. And they say, A-okay. Like, I think if one of my friends really was convincing enough and like the reward looked high, I'd be like, ugh, why not? Let me be so clear. I would never do that. I think that that is so the end result is not worth the end result, if it's good, is not worth the end result. God forbid it's bad. And like, that's my masterclass on fraud, but fraud's intense. I'm enjoying the book because, I mean, she kind of ranks like the different levels of fraud. Again, I'm only on intentional perps. It's like the first chapter. But there was this one guy who was a pharmacist, but he was like a different type of pharmacist, so he wasn't working in a lab, and he was purchasing cancer treatment and then selling that cancer treatment. But when he would buy it, he would dilute it. And so like a third of the cancer treatment that they were supposed to be getting, let's say 100% of the cancer treatment, he was only giving 33% within each so that he could like make more money off of it, which is probably the most disgusting type of story I've heard in a while. People's chemo wasn't working. People were dying. It was people who had like terminal illness. And so he like justified it with that. But I was like really disturbed after hearing that story because I just cannot imagine. I can't imagine being someone who had like received that, known someone who received that, or was like a part of this and knowingly did that. Like, you are such a rot of a human being, rot in hell. But I'm reading about fraud and I'm enamored by it. I'm not enamored enough to all of a sudden go into law. No, that takes a lot. It takes a lot to motivate me to uproot everything. Like, I wanted to be a doctor when I was in college, freshman year, but by no means would I all of a sudden now be like, I watched The Pit once, I'm going to become a doctor. I would love to know if somebody's been watching The Pit and they want to go be a nurse or be a doctor or even be an actor. Is The Pit inspiring people more to become actors or to become emergency medical workers? Let me know. That show is so good. I love that show. If you're not watching it, it is changing my life. And I hope that no one listening has too much experience in an emergency room. But if Dr. Robbie is in the emergency room, like, I'm going to go. I'm going to go. And there's got to be a Dr. Robbie that's the head. That's the head bitch in charge. He is the main guy. He's the attending, as they call it. But there's got to be a Dr. Robbie in every workplace has a Dr. Robbie. Every workplace has something. Every workplace has someone that, like, they do the littlest thing. And it's like, and that's hot. Dr. Robbie puts Purell on his hands. I'm like, why am I jealous of hand sanitizer? You know, he has a grip on society. There's few things that would really make me uproot what I'm doing. I would never become a lawyer. It sounds exhausting. Maybe like a law girl who like influences people about law, but that's not even real. I don't want that. I am all set on lawyerisms. Everyone needs to know a lawyer, though. In your sphere, you should ideally have a lawyer, a doctor, a podcaster. These are kind of like the main three things that you need to get by. It's really helpful to have like your resident doctor easily at hand. Like, my aunt answers all of my dumbass questions. I call her and I'm like, I sprained my ankle, and she's like, ice it and elevate it. And I'm like, are you sure? And it's wild how things are just so duh to smart people. But for people like me, it's, do I need stitches? No, baby, there's no skin broken. Meanwhile, I don't really have a lawyer. When I needed a lawyer for this, for this Megillah, I had to reach out to so many people and ask them if they knew any lawyers. And then they had to reach out to their network. When you got to go double network, it's exhausting. It's exhausting. You're waiting to hear back from somebody's neighbor's cousin. Get out of here. Get out of here with that bullshit. I want one on tap. I would love if like a cousin became a lawyer. All my cousins are like creative. It's exhausting. So am I. I mean, I'm not useful. No one's like, oh, we really need someone to do a podcast about something. No, I'm not doing that. No, nothing's really motivating me. But what I wish I had more motivation surrounding would be taxes. I don't know when I started becoming so heavily aware that taxes were a part of my yearly dilemma. It was 2022. I know exactly when it was. It was tax season. At some point, my mom just like stopped doing my taxes. I just never really understood them. And these are things that I could keep inside my head, but I'm just telling you, like, I don't really get, like, what is a dependent? What is a health savings account? These are something that I just know exist, and they're kind of like dinosaurs to me. I know they exist, but like, I don't have proof. Like, I've seen photos and people talk about it, but I've never actually like seen it come to fruition. And I just don't fully grasp it. And then it's like, that's why I could never cheat this system, is I don't even understand this system. And that's why people probably cheat the system, because they get it. Well, the year was 2022. I guess it was my first year doing taxes, the first year I like had a job. Everyone said, use TurboTax, use TurboTax. I do my taxes with TurboTax. I don't need you doing a commercial for TurboTax. Just be like, hey, Dana, did you do your taxes yet? No. Oh, I do mine with TurboTax, but totally do whatever you want to do. I don't know any other tax formulating company. And to that, shout out TurboTax. Your marketing dollars are hard at work because you're not even marketing. People are doing it for you. Do you realize how desirable that is? You guys are useful for like a month, 3 months max of the year, and then you go Sleepy Town Central. Listen, I know you're working the whole year. I don't know what you're doing. What are TurboTax employees doing all year? Taxes? I thought that was only like a couple of months. I'm curious if someone's listening to this and they know someone who works at TurboTax, please reach out to me. Even if you have to reach out to somebody's network. I'm deathly curious about who and what you are doing at TurboTax. TurboTax could be a Ponzi scheme. So don't clip that. So I was like, okay, I guess I'll frickin' do TurboTax. So I go to sign up for it, and I'll never forget, it was like, do it yourself or chat with a live agent. Now, this is my first time doing my taxes. My mommy isn't helping me, which shame on her. She's dealing with some other stuff. Fill it out myself or live agent. Yeah, I'm going to go with the live agent. Are you insane? Why would I not have an opportunity to like chat with somebody, see how their day is, and then they can literally walk me through these steps and I can be kaput done with taxes. Taxes, like what is a tax? So I get on the line. I don't fully remember her name, but for the listener right now to best indulge in this story, picture that her name is Linda. I do believe her name was Linda or Barbara. I would say she was a woman in her lower 70s. She had quite pizzazz, and she was wearing glasses. She also was working from home. She had a very cozy home background behind her. It could have been a green screen, but somebody like Linda, I don't know if she gives a fuck about a green screen. She and I have that in common. Like, please don't make your green screen a tropical ocean. Like, I know you're not there, and I just think it's weird. My manager's green screen one time got stuck on a tropical ocean, and she had to keep it that way for months. IT could not figure it out. I felt really bad for her because when you join a call with a tropical ocean as your background, you have to kind of explain to people that this is not on purpose. And I did not mean for this to happen. There's something weird, too, about like people making their virtual background a virtual work from home background. Like, I know that's not your furniture. Like, just make your background blurred at that point, please. And they never decorate it properly. It's just like weird. I always blur my background, but then I do feel like my laundry is like combusting at the seams or something. But guess what? If you're that worried about someone's background, it's not that deep. Your background on a Zoom call is not that deep. And that could be the topic. That could be the title of today's episode. But then I think people are going to think today is about talking about Zooms. And we've talked about so much more. And I can't be defined by Zoom backgrounds. I feel like I'm on the Zoom with Miss Linda. And we're getting to know each other. And she's like, all right, Dana, send me your W-2. I send her my W-2 for like my entry-level media job. And she's like, okay, just give me 1 second. I'm like, this is so freaking easy. I don't know why people bitch about doing their taxes. Linda is making it super simplified for me. I want to be in a commercial now. I'm like watching her face in real time. And she's kind of like, and I'm just like on my phone scrolling TikTok because that's why I paid you to do my taxes. She comes back off mute and she says, Dana, we have a little problem. And I'm like, what could it be? Because I don't even know what I just sent you. Like, what did I just send you? She goes, it does look like you owe some money. And I was like, okay, how much? She goes, it's going to be like $10,000. I was like, what? Like, I've never seen $10,000. Does that make sense? I have never visualized what $10,000 even looks like. So for this woman who is an expert tax doer telling me at age 24 that I owe $10,000 in taxes, I'm a little bit concerned. Now, instead of asking questions such as, and how did you get to that number? I said, thank you for your help, Linda. I have to go. Immediately, I start texting my mom and I say, Mother, I'm coming home. I cannot afford to live in the city anymore. I owe $10,000 in taxes. I'm going to go work at the deli that I worked at in high school. I'm going to babysit the kids that I babysat for. And I'm going to work my ass off to pay back this $10,000 that I owe the government. Before my mom responded, then I started texting my friends because something about me is I don't know how to take a breath. I just did it there. It's something that I'm working on. I have a hard time with it. I totally have a hard time with it because I want to tell people immediately. Good news, awful news. I want to get the word out. It makes it less work in the back end. That's how I justify it in Dana's head. So immediately I'm texting my friends. I was supposed to go out to dinner that night. I texted my friend Jill and I said, Jill, cancel the reservation. I'm eating canned tuna for the rest of eternity. I owe $10,000 in taxes. And she was like, okay, like, I don't think a dinner is going to kill you. But I really thought I owed $10,000 in taxes. Now, what ended up happening was, as you might be thinking, Linda made a mistake. I don't know where the mistake was. I don't know if I was actually on with TurboTax. I don't know what the hell happened. But what I do know is that I ended up filing taxes with my mom's financial person and I got money back. So suck it, Linda. That was like the most stressed that I've been financially in a while. And that's a pretty big blessing to be able to say. But like, not even for my bat mitzvah did I see $10,000. Yeah, like for the rich people, how much money do you need to be coming? How much money needs to be coming in for you to owe $10,000? Because I know it's not an entry-level media job. I know that in my heart of hearts. So yeah, I think like resisting your taxes is not that deep. In a legal way. I think that could be the I think that could be the title. Like, in a legal way, resisting your taxes, it's not that deep. Like, I want to be done with these. I want to send that file in. Yet there are so many elements to it. You cannot rush your taxes, people. And this is a PSA that, like, as wild and outlandish I'm speaking about my taxes, like, I take it seriously and they're not to be played with. And you also should have never take tax advice from me. I mean, I don't even have a lawyer in my close circle. You should never take tax advice from me. It's really not that deep. I did want to call out something else that was not that deep as I check the time because sometimes I just don't know. Okay. God, I actually have like fun news, you guys. I think I'm going to start, I think I'm going to join a softball team. I think that I'm pretty aware. I think we've talked about this before. Like, doing things that you did as a child that made you happy is so important to do as you get older. Softball made me so happy. I was so good at it. For anyone listening, like, did you have a sport that you played when you were younger that maybe you weren't amazing at it, but like you just had so much fun playing? I wasn't a soccer girl. I wasn't basketball. I wasn't lacrosse. Softball was it for me. And there was such a sense of community and play and connection and the post party after softball of getting Slurpees. My dad was always the coach. Sorry, let me be so clear. My dad was never the coach. My dad was the Dwight Schrute of my softball league. My dad was like the assistant coach to the assistant coach. He would like always show up. I remembered he always showed up, but he was typically late coming from the city. I don't know. I never really questioned it, but he would come, run and be like, all right, what can I do? What can I do? And they always sent his ass to third base. And all my dad would do when someone would get to third base would be like, go, 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 go. And like, if that's a coach, put me in. It was so fun. Like, I would imagine that was so much fun for him of like, he played softball too back in his day and he played it as an adult, but I would imagine that is so much fun to coach your kids' softball league. He was never head coach. That was funny. I'm sure he wanted to be. It's a big commitment. I loved the dads that were, but you know who I loved even more? Were the moms that were the head coaches. The moms were so intense. Like, if I had to play a team that the mom was a coach, I was like, we're fucked. There was just a different vibe about them, which I respect. I would have loved to be taught softball by a woman, but I was stuck with these dads. It was fun though. I wasn't amazing, but I could play any position, which probably means I really wasn't good because they would just kind of put me in wherever. But I pitched. I loved hitting, but it was fun. I have a smile on my face when I talk about softball because it was fun and I played up until 8th grade. And then, I mean, oh my God, like a spring morning playing softball on the weekend. Ugh, it was delicious. That's what I'm kind of yearning for. I moved to Brooklyn. I feel like I want to be in a league. I want to be meeting people. I want to be playing. And it kind of seems perfect. I have to get a glove. And what if I suck? If you suck at a new thing that you're trying out, it's not that deep. Okay, this isn't like a major league baseball team. If you're bad, you sit out more or you kind of just like make a joke about it and you try to get better on the side if you really want to. It's not that deep. And I think I'm really interested in doing that. I also want to play tennis, but if you're listening to this, like message me something that you've tried that maybe you were kind of like, I don't know if I'm ready to try that. I think you probably had something good come out of it. Speaking of, I had a yoga event. Well, by this time this episode drops, I've had 2 yoga events. The first one was led by my good friend Carly Arena, and we had about 30 people. I thought it was all friends coming. And then 2 people showed up that followed my account. And that was really cool. One of the guys, Mike, he was like, from real to real. Get it? From Instagram reel to real life. And I loved that. And I'm sorry, like the fact that someone like saw me on the internet and then saw an event that I posted and then showed up paid to come to the event and gather for community is the coolest thing ever. And I was so moved and appreciative that they came and kind of like they gave me a chance is how I see it. And Mike signed up for the next yoga event too. So it made me happy and like I'm really gathering an understanding of what is making me happy and where and who and where is my body kind of relaxed? Like where is my body tensing up? Where is my anxiety flaring up? I think listen to where your happiness is. Not all of us have the privilege. Oh my God. Why don't I burp and stutter at the same time? That would be fun. Not all of us have the privilege to feel where we're unhappy and do something about it. But I think if you do recognize that privilege and try to do something about it, even if it's at like a minor scale, yeah, I was really touched that they came. The yoga event was amazing. I had brands send shit in. It was just a lot of fun. And I missed doing a solo episode. This is how this all started. I would just kind of go and talk for 40 minutes. And I think there's serious pride radiating from me of just how I do find comfort in this. And at first, I hadn't done it in a while. And at first, I was thinking, is this weird? Is this so weird that I just talk into a camera? And no, I'm talking to people because I know people are listening. And I'm really appreciative of that. And it just like, I'm having so much fun with this. Thank you guys for listening. Thank you for liking, commenting, sharing. I am having a blast and I couldn't do it without all of you. So thank you so much and stay tuned for the next episode of Not That Deep. And cut.